Hello, Business Academy. It's Dr. Erin again. Great to be with you. We are diving into a whole new topic in terms of the psychology of high performers. So we talked about how to use affirmations that actually work for you. And today we're going to be talking about a concept that has the potential to either make or break you as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And you're here. And so I know that this lesson, this technology is going to absolutely make you in your business. And it's the distinction that we need to make and understand in our brains about the difference between probability and possibility thinking. So let me tee this up for you. As a psychologist, someone who's been researching how the human brain works for over 20 years now, one thing we know about how the brain functions is its job is to consume all of the data and information and learning trials and experiences and consequences, good and bad. It's to compile all of that data and make things make sense in your brain. Its job is to create order out of what could be seen as chaos. It's to create rules of predictability, and when this happens, this happens. It's to gather data and formulate some summaries so that your brain can make sense of all the things that's happening in your world. So the brain's job also is to create certainty. Human beings love certainty. So what this looks like is the brain is going to take all of the data that you have so far and create some conclusions. So if I have never made more than $70,000 a year, let's say, and I am on mission to create $1 million business, my brain knows the data, and my brain is going to say, all right, hold up. We've never created that before. What makes you think you can do that now? That's ridiculous. I mean, it's going to tell you all sorts of thoughts that if you don't train your brain to think otherwise, can get you into trouble. And this is to no fault of our brain. This is actually our brains just doing what they do, trying to create order. And we can thank our brains for just doing what brains do. Brains just take data and say, this is the reasonable conclusion that you have never done this thing, and so it's going to be really difficult to do the thing. Now, when you're an entrepreneur, you are always creating and growing new things, new levels. So you can see how this kind of thinking could get you into major quicksand very quickly, because we're always creating something that's never yet existed. So the brain only knows how to think about things that you've already created and that already exist. That is the land of what I call probability. The land of probability is the brain's kind of intake of all the data so far. And we want to shift into a mindset of possibility. So a mindset of possibility is very, very exciting, and it's very different than the mindset of probability, which is going to be your brain's default lane that it's going to go into. Okay, so the land of possibility says, yeah, we know we've never created it yet, and it's possible. And all I need is it's possible. And so the land of possibility, we can say things to our brain like, with the right amount of resources, team, support, knowledge, sometimes money, it's possible for me to create new levels of success, abundance, money, influence, business, whatever it is we're trying to create that new level of. So this is very exciting because we're truly, anything is possible. And I always like to remind myself, we put a man on the moon. So, supposedly, right? Just kidding. We put a man on the moon, so it's possible. If you need to borrow the belief of someone that's gone before you, do that. So the brain will say, you've never made $1 million. All you need, though, are some examples of other people making $1 million. For you to tell your brain, I haven't yet, and it's possible because lots of other human beings have done it. So all I need is possible. I just said a 3-letter word there that is going to completely change your mindset, and that is the word yet. It is a 3-letter word that is so, so, so powerful in your business. So when your brain is saying, we've never made $1 million, just add yet to the end. We've never made $1 million yet. It gives the brain the possibility. And remember from last training, the brain doesn't know when you're telling it a lie or not. The brain just takes in data. So if you're having the thought repeatedly, it's not, I can't make $1 million. I've never made $1 million before. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to make $1 million. It's going to go searching for that. If you tell your brain, we are on our way to making our first $1 million. I haven't made $1 million yet. It's possible to make $1 million. The brain's going to go looking for data that then supports that thought. So I want to give you a very strategic 4-point strategy to show you how to train your brain for possibility. So let me share my screen with you and pull that up. And we're going to walk through what I call the bless and release method. And hopefully you can see that here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a fear or one of those thoughts that are more in the realm of probability, and we're going to put that in this blank space here. So my greatest fear right now is, or the thought that my brain comes up with when I think of growing is, that's going to be so difficult, or you've never made $1 million before. So the first step I want you to do is really understand and validate why it makes perfect sense you're having that thought. Oh my gosh, it makes perfect sense I'm having that thought because I've never created that before. Oh, it makes perfect sense I'm having that thought because I'm learning from Dr. Erin that that's what brains do and that's how brains think. Oh, it makes perfect sense I'm having that thought because I'm learning that the brain works in the land of probability and I am moving into the land of possibility. So if you have a fear, I'm terrified of speaking in front of 200 people. Oh, that makes perfect sense because your family told you that you were terrible at storytelling when you were a little girl, and you still sometimes hold that fear. That's true for me. Oh, it makes perfect sense that you're scared to speak in front of 200 people because anything could happen and things could go terribly wrong. Like, just validate the thought because that takes its power away. And it helps us have, again, that observer stance to your thoughts. You always want to be observing your thoughts because when you can observe them, you can then manipulate them, you can manage them, you can change them, you can kind of finesse them. If you can't observe your thoughts, you think you are your thoughts. And your thoughts become then 100% true and believable and unchangeable. And that's just not the case. So, because remember, our brains can tell us thoughts that aren't true and that do not serve us. Okay, so the second step is we want to thank our brain for showing up and trying to protect us or trying to make sense of the world or trying to create order out of what may seem kind of random and chaotic. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for, alerting me that we're doing something new here. Thank you for trying to protect me. Thank you for doing your job, which is just to keep things orderly. The third step is where your choice comes in and you're moving to the land of possibility. So the third step is, I no longer need you now. I'm safe now without you. Or the rules have changed. I no longer am terrified of telling stories because I've told stories and people tell me I'm a great storyteller and nothing bad happens when I speak. In all actuality, lots of good things happen when I speak. So now I'm going to go and speak, right? So that's kind of how I can change in that third step, that previous negative thought that I had. You might want to say, after you've thanked that thought for trying to keep you, safe or things predictably, you might say, but I'm moving into the land of possibility and so you no longer serve me. Or I'm moving in the land of possibility and so you don't get a say. Or you're not as valid. Okay. And then the fourth step is the power of the pivot. This is where you pivot and choose to pursue possibilities. So you say to yourself, and now I'm going to believe that things are possible because I've seen it happen, or now I'm going to go and create the next step towards my $1 million, because if it's possible for some people, why not me? Or now I'm going to choose to go speak because my dream depends on it, and I know that I can impact a lot of people when I speak, and so now I'm going to go choose to speak, even though fear, you just showed up. I'm going to go do it anyways. So do you see how, one, again, your first step is so powerful, because when we validate something, we can allow it to come in, and then we can actually have power over choosing what we think about that thought. So our thoughts are very often unwanted and uninvited. And you know this to be true, right? I mean, if you could control every single thought you had, you would never need someone like me, because you would say, stop thinking that way. But your brain comes up with thoughts based on thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of learning trials, experiences, previous thoughts you've had, previous ways that your brain is just trying to make sense of the world, okay? So if we can sign up for this idea that your thoughts are often kind of involuntary. They're not something you have control of. You have control over the second thought. That's the difference. You don't have control over the first thought, but the second thought is where you can gain control. So the first step is we got to validate and kind of just observe, oh, the first thoughts come into my brain, and I am feeling terrified, or I am thinking this is going to be really hard, or this is not possible. Thanks for showing up. Second step, thanks for showing up, trying to make sense of the world, trying to keep things orderly. And I no longer am going to just subscribe to probability thinking. I'm going to be a person that thinks in terms of possibilities. And so now I'm choosing to believe that if I strategically do the right things over a long enough period of time, that things are going to turn out great for me. And so here I go. So see, you walk through that 4-step process, and all of a sudden you are living in the land of possibility. Okay. The other technique that I love for this possibility thinking, and I've described it before, is the wondering technique. So wondering, I wonder when I'll meet my next client. I wonder how much fun it will be to speak at my next speaking engagement. I wonder how many people will sign up to work with me at that speaking engagement. I wonder how long it's going to take for me to actually meet some of my mentors in person. Interestingly enough there, I wonder how long it will be until I meet them, is very what I call expectant language. So the brain, again, we are training our brains to think the way we want it to think. So instead of, I wonder if I'll ever meet them, it's, I wonder when I will. I wonder what they'll be wearing. I wonder what we'll talk about. I wonder how fun it will be to meet them. Okay? I wonder what stories I'll have after meeting them. That tells your brain, oh, we're looking for that. That's that power of science in applying that to the power of manifestation. So it's very, very exciting, the world that you have waiting for you when we train our brains to think in the land and in the realm of possibility, and that it doesn't surprise us anymore when our thoughts come up from the land of probability. Let's not be surprised anymore. Let's say, oh, this makes perfect sense. And I'm going to choose the power of the pivot. I'm going to choose a different thought so that I can get a different outcome. So I know this will bless you. This bless and release 4-step method can change your life. It will change your brain. And when you transform your psychology, you will transform your business. And I can't wait to hear from you of how this is working for you and the possibilities that you can create for yourself as a result of this. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.